The question is this: can you hear it right now? You got to listen a little closer. Can you hear it? Listen a little bit closer. Can you hear it? It is called the winds of change. And I'm not sure where these winds find you today, whether it's blowing in your face, or the winds of change are in your back, or they're blowing you from side to side. But anywhere that those winds find you, it's important for you to always remember, to succeed, you must adjust your sails. And adjusting your sails is all about how you think, how you feel, and how you act when it comes to the life's challenges. And so today what I want to do is talk about how we actually adjust our sails so that we can achieve the type of results that we want in our life. So as I always ask everybody the same question: how many people in the room would like a little bit more success, a little bit more money, and a little bit more happiness in their life? Show of hands. Yes, everyone wants a little bit more, a little more.
Yes, yes.
And because you want a little more, it's always about how we adjust our sails, how we think about ourselves, how we think about the situations we're in, and how we think about the things that we're actually going through. So what I want to do is give kind of a roadmap on how to adjust your sail. And the first part of adjusting your sail is all about your mindset, how you think, how you feel, and how you act, but it all starts with our mind. And for myself, as a speaker of the past 20 years, my goal has been to empower people and to help people. But before I could empower or help anyone, I had to learn these lessons for myself. So before I was a speaker, I spent over 10 years in the exciting insurance industry, everyone, the world of insurance. And when I was there, I was a part of 5 downsizings and mergers. And in the end of these mergers, they finally let me go. And when they phased out my job, I had to adjust my sails. I had to decide what was next. Bills are due, situations are growing, and I've got to figure out how to adjust my sails. And it's tough to adjust your sails at times because it's all about how we think about the situation that we're in. When someone loses their job, it's hard to adjust your sail and move on because the job sometimes is identified as your identity. A lot of people identify their job as themselves, but in reality, your job is not who you are. It's simply something that you do. So it's important to put your mind in the right place so that you can move forward. So a mindset is where it starts. But how do we get the right mindset? By looking at situations first and saying to ourselves, what is our values and beliefs as it relates to that situation? Our values and our beliefs determine how we see the world. And because our values and beliefs determine how we see the world, it's important that we understand where this is coming from. So here's the question I have for everybody here. By show of hands, how many people in the room would like a little bit more money in their life? A little bit more money.
Yes.
All right. How about a little bit more success in their life? Yes. Okay, that's what you want. So if I were to tell you a way to have a little bit more money, a little bit more success, would you do it? There it is, right there. I don't know. It depends. It depends. So if I told you to have a little bit more success, a little bit more money in your life, you were going to have to start your own entrepreneurial business. And you've never started a business before in your life. You've always worked for somebody. And now I'm saying you're going to have to start your own business to have a little bit more money and a little bit more success. What happens to those, what are those thoughts in your mind saying? Can I do it? Could I do it? What if I don't know if I can do it. See, a lot of times you can give somebody the exact roadmap to success, but their values and beliefs sometimes will kick in and say, this person and yourself, you'll say, I don't really believe in myself. Can I really do it? Our values and our beliefs shape how we see the world. It shapes how we see everything. So that's why it's so important for us to understand how we put a value on the things that we want. So developing that mindset is where it starts at first. The next part to this puzzle, when it comes to adjusting your sails, is all about how we feel about things. So we've got our mindset, and our mindset is based on our values and beliefs. Then it is our feelings, how we feel about things. And what I've started to study and realize is that there are multiple areas that people have feelings about, but here are the 3 big areas. People suffer from their doubts, their worries, and their fears. And so in order to help you deal with these things, whatever you're trying to accomplish in your life, doubts, worries, and fears will always be there playing about. So how do we overcome our doubts? Doubts are the first thing that happens in our life. Whenever we try to do something new and exciting and we want to go toward it, our doubts are the first thing that affects us. They're the first thing that gets into us. So how do we get dealing with our doubts? It is clarity. It is education and getting clear. That's how you start to overcome the doubts that you have inside of yourself, because you haven't done it yet. So your doubts are where it starts, and you have to get clear and start to get as much education as you can. But then next, once you're going down this path of the things you want to discover in your life, the things you want to do, when you get involved with them, next thing happens is worry. Everyone starts to worry, and you can start to worry. Now, would you guys like to know what worry really is? Worry is negative meditation. That's what worry is. You worry about something until finally the thing you worried about happens. And why does it happen? Because you meditated on it. You kept meditating that this bad thing would happen. So the only way that I have found to overcome your worries is to become bigger than your worries. You have to increase your capacity. Now, living down here in Florida, there are things that swim around in the water. Would everyone agree? There are things that swim in the water in Florida. Well, on land, since I'm new to Florida, I've realized there are these little lizards that are everywhere doing push-ups all the time. There's all these little lizards. They're always doing push-ups. But I'm not afraid of those lizards because they're small. I'm not worried about them. But yet, when I go fishing, there are things in the water that swim around that are much bigger than me. And I tend to have a little bit of worry about that. And I worry about that only because I didn't understand how to deal with alligators. I didn't understand what I was supposed to do. But once I understood what I was supposed to do when I saw an alligator and what was going on, my mind got to a new place. And I didn't worry anymore. I got to a new thought process on how to think about it. And suddenly I wasn't worried about alligators. I'm always concerned about them, but I was never worried about them. And the reason I share that is because when we worry about things, we paralyze ourselves. So whenever you feel worried, you say to yourself, I must get more training, more education, more support so that I can get bigger than this. Think about anyone you've ever known that has suffered from some fatal illness. Could be cancer, could be a host of things. But if anyone's ever suffered from it, do you ever notice how they reach a place of understanding about what they have and they become bigger than their illness? Whether they survive or don't survive, they become bigger than it. And if anything, they start to comfort everyone around who is worried about them. They reach a place where they become bigger. And that's what happens to worry. You have to become bigger than your worries. And then finally, the last one, of course, the fears that we have to do with everything. And I say everything in life because everything can be fearful to us. But one way that we can overcome fear is through certainty. It's creating certainty in our hearts. And certainty in our hearts is through application. In other words, anything you have fears about, you have to do more of it. You have to do more actions, more activities. You have to participate in it. And as you do more of that, you'll have a sense of certainty of what's supposed to happen. And we start to overcome those fears. Now, for those that are working in corporate America, here's one thing that I know for sure, is that anyone that has scheduled a vacation has no fear that they're going to make it to their vacation at the end of that month or the end of that week. Everyone's sure they're going to make it to their vacation. They have no fears of that because they have a sense of certainty that they're going to make it to the end of the week and go on their vacation. Certainty is the key to really overcoming people's fears. And if you have fears, you have to create a sense of certainty in you. Now, these things that I've shared here with you are small things, but really big things about adjusting your sails. Adjusting your sails so that you can prepare for the changes that happen in this world here. Now, before I want to leave you with a thought here. How many people in the room love change? Anyone love change? I rest my case, Your Honor, right there. I rest my case. Not everyone loves change. And it's okay. It's okay not to like change because change is never what you were designed to do. See, change is an event, a situation, or a thing. People either improve or they get worse, but they never change. They either improve or they get worse. Matter of fact, even the words change aren't good for you. And I'll show you how. Say the word change, everybody. Say the word change. Change. Now say the word transition. Transition. Say the word change. Change. Now say the word transition. Transition. Which one sounds better? Because that's what you've been doing your whole life. You've been making transitions to and through situations in your life. You've never once changed. You've either gotten better or you've gotten worse, but you never actually changed. You create change. You create events. You create situations. You create things. but you actually never change. You are the orchestrator of it. But a lot of people feel paralyzed because of change. Like there's something that they're supposed to actually become, but it doesn't work that way. In our life that you're living right now, it's all about you adjusting your sails. Every time something new is happening, some new event is occurring, it's about you adjusting your sails, because change is events, situations, and things, and they're always coming. So it's about adjusting your sails so you can take advantage of it. Change is about seeing opportunities, seeing possibilities, and not limitations. When I talked about losing my job, when I lost my job, I was upset. I felt lost because I had identified myself with the work. I was my work. And when they took the work from me, I felt lost. When change happens, most people feel the exact same way. They feel lost because they feel like they're going to lose something. But when you look at change as an event, situation, or thing that you can adjust yourselves to get through, that's a much more empowering place to be. See, change only hurts when you're reacting to it, but change never hurts when you respond to it. You know it's coming, you know it's going to happen, but most importantly, you teach yourself how no matter when it comes, I'm going to be ready to respond. It's our mindset, it's how we think about things, it's how we see the situations of the life that we're living. Another thing about adjusting your sails is being realistic about the world that we live in right now. A lot of times people don't ever want to say it, but to adjust your sails in this world, you have to first understand what this life is. And the life that we live right now, this life is about struggle, sacrifice, and self-conflict. That's what life is. But what your life becomes is because of you adjusting your sails. Life has always been about struggle. It's been about sacrifice and self-conflict. You trying to figure out what you're supposed to do with your life. You figuring out how you're supposed to raise your kids. You figuring out how you want to live your life. That's the self-conflict. The adjusting our sails is about our mindset, how we adjust ourselves to go in the direction that we want to go in. See, the winds will always be blowing at you. They'll always be coming at you. They'll be blowing you from side to side, or they'll be blowing you from the back. You must adjust your sails to go where you want to go. See, a lot of times when I start this talk, I talk about people's visions. And I ask people, what is your vision for your life? And people say to themselves, well, they have these big, lofty visions for their life. But I asked them, I said, vision is great, but where do you want to go? And how will you know you've arrived? You can have a vision for a great life, but where do you want to go in that life? Where are you starting now? Those are the questions that help a vision get in focus. Adjusting your sail is about having this clarity first, having clarity about things in life. And once you have this clarity, then all the other things become simple. In other words, you start to know what you need to succeed. You start to know that I need books and tapes and materials and coaching. I know the things that I need because I've gotten clear. But a lot of people never take time to get clear on what they really want from this life. And to know that you have it when you have it. Matter of fact, does anyone here have a due date when all the good stuff is supposed to happen in their life? Anyone got a due date for that? Well, all the good stuff's supposed to happen. Now, here's a question. Isn't there something that shows up every single month at the end of the month called bills? You ever heard of bills before? Yes. And don't bills have a date on it when things are supposed to happen? Now, you know that date on the bill is not a wish date. You do know that, right? That's a due date when it's supposed to happen. And they're under the assumption that you will pay on that date. But do you have a date when it's supposed to happen in your life? When all the good stuff that you want in your life to happen? What's that date? Because when you have a date when it's supposed to happen, you will adjust your sails to go toward it. You will make the necessary adjustments because you know when it's supposed to happen. But if you don't know when it's supposed to happen, you will drift in the sea of obscurity, in the sea of unknownness, of this sea of resistance. You'll just float out there. You'll be a ship without a rudder. To adjust your sail means you know where you want to go, and you make the small adjustments along the way. Now, thinking about just your life in general here, to really take command of your life, you have to understand your life. Not that it's just that there are struggles and sacrifice and self-conflict. You got to think about your life and understand what you're here for. Would anyone in the room like to know what their purpose is in life? Want to know what your purpose is? And you won't have to think about it anymore. Your purpose in life is to serve others with your gifts and your talents. Many people shave their heads and wander the earth trying to figure out what's my purpose in life. That is the easy answer, to serve. It is to take what you have and to serve others with it. The question is, will you develop your gifts and talents to the level necessary to serve the people that you want? But to serve people, you have to be in the right environment. A lot of times people want to serve and want to help people, but they're not in the right environment. They're not in the right place. So you got to make sure that when you serve people, you're serving people in the right environment. See, when I worked in corporate America, I was in a company and I was serving those people and things were going really well because I was in the right environment. The moment they phased out that job, that was the wrong environment for me now. Because what I did for the company, they didn't need anymore and they phased it out. So the environment was no longer good for me. And now I'm in a toxic environment because I don't fit anymore. I don't belong. So once I got myself into the right environment, my gifts and talents became appreciated. That was the lesson that I learned about being in the right environment. But once you're in the right environment, then it's about serving the right people with your gifts and talents. You must serve the right people in that environment. And suddenly life gets really easy. See, here's one other lesson I learned about life. When it's really easy to grow corn in Iowa, I don't know if you know that, but it's really easy to grow corn in Iowa. And why is that? Because that's where corn grows. You can take a handful of seeds and throw them backwards and grow corn in Iowa. But if you are in Arizona in the desert, you're gonna work real hard to grow corn because it's the desert. It's not the right environment. It doesn't matter how good you are, how special you are. If you're not in the right environment, your life's gonna be hard. It's just gonna be tough. It's not that you don't have the ability to make it work, but because you're in the wrong environment, serving the wrong people, because the people in Arizona might like corn, but they don't want that corn. They want it from Iowa. It can be tough. It can be difficult. So the keys to life really come down, and so that's why adjusting your sale is like, I wanna adjust my sale, so I'm going into the right environments where what I do well can be appreciated. I adjust my sales again, so that I am serving the people who can appreciate what I actually do. That's how you start to navigate this world we live in. A lot of times we force ourselves. We force ourselves to deal with things that we really shouldn't deal with. And we tell ourselves all kinds of fancy words. I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna endure. And what I tell everybody over and over again is, instead of making it work and endure, you need to develop yourself what I call a Shawshank Plan. You ever seen the movie Shawshank before? Shawshank, here's what I mean by it. You might be in a tough environment right now, but you need to be plotting your escape. You need to plot your escape. And if you ever hear anyone say this, they got it from me. It's called Shawshanking. And Shawshanking, that's my word. So if you ever hear someone say this, like, that's Johnny's word. Shawshanking is you go into your environment that's tough and you do your job to the best of your ability and you smile and you be cooperative. But at night, when it's dark and you home alone, dig. You dig your way out. You find that new job. You start that new business. You figure out what else you want to do with your life and you dig at night. And then one day, could be 20 years later, 15 years later, 5 years later, you walk into that job and you leave just like in Shawshank. Andy Dufresne one day woke up and it was gone because he dug his way out of there a little bit every single day. A little bit every day is adjusting your sale. So what I wanted to do here in the time, in this part one here piece, was just talk about adjusting your sale. And adjusting your sale is about adjusting your mind on how you think, how you feel, and how you act. And it starts with how we think about the things that we're dealing with and think about the things that we're going through right now. And you really seeing yourself, where am I trying to go so that I can adjust my sales to go toward that thing? But you gotta know where you wanna go and you gotta know where you're starting from. So those are my little insights for everyone here tonight. And I'll just go ahead and give you my technical close here that I always tell everybody. When it comes to your life, I want you to remember this. My name is Johnny Campbell. I'm called a transition man. And always remember this when it comes to success, money, and happiness. The elevator to all of that is broken. But if you're willing to do the work and adjust your sales toward the things you really believe in, the stairs to your dreams are always available. All right.